not only win an MVP, win a Defensive Player of the Year, become an All-NBA player in the year 2026 did not seem like a possibility. Why? That darn eligibility rule getting in the way. 65 games. But ultimately, it turns into an afterthought, and not so surprisingly, Victor Wembanyama clinches that number in quite the loud, quite the authoritative of fashions. Welcome into the Spurs Postcast right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You, of course, know it by now as the #1 sports podcast network in the world. He's NBA champion Devin Brown. I'm Casey Vieira. On the heels of a 139-120 victory tonight for the San Antonio Spurs, a night that everyone knew that Victor Wembanyama, or at least was very much the thought he was questionable coming in, was that the target number was 20 minutes. He played 26 tonight, so he went over that. He got the magic number, but he did it in a fashion that reminds people that, hey, I'm legit. We're here to play. And in case this hasn't been enough of a reminder already, I'm just going to do this in as impressive a fashion as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, saw some good things tonight, Casey. So let's get right into it. Welcome everybody to the show. Let's have a good one, Casey.
This is what you'll be talking about.
The Mavericks, of course, not playing for anything of substance. Cooper Flagg did play in this game, however, and he did play very, very well. He had 33 points. Stephon Castle did not play. He was also questionable coming in. Just another one of those maintenance rest deals on the knees, on the feet before the playoffs start in a couple of days, in a week plus or so. You knew it was going to be an eventful night for Victor because he got up 5 field goal attempts in a little over 2 minutes and made 4 of those 5 right away. So you knew right from the jump that it was going to be a concerted effort to give Victor the basketball. He did, and he took advantage of it. Ultimately got 9 field goal attempts in a little under 10 minutes of work in the first quarter, scored 16 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and the Spurs go up by 11 after 1 quarter of play. A bit of a regression, if you will. Maybe they took their foot off the gas, so to speak. Maybe they got a little too ambitious of Victor with the shot hunting, if you will, because they had an 11-point lead. It ultimately turns into a deficit, but some free throws at the end put them back up by 3. Victor finishes with 27 points and 24 points and 7 rebounds in 15 minutes of work through 1 half play. But that actually was not the high man. That was Cooper Flagg, who had 25 points through the first 2 quarters of play, despite what was the 3-point deficit for Dallas. This is where it started to get a little interesting because very quickly, Victor goes out. He gets the 5 minutes that he needs. They take him out, and you're thinking, all right, well, he's got 30 and 10. This is a nice little period to put on the end of the sentence and feel good about life. He's going to be an All-NBA player, probably not going to win MVP, but you know he's going to be the Defensive Player of the Year, and he did it in a nice fashion tonight. Nope, turns out that was not it for Victor. He came out in what was kind of his usual substitution pattern at the back end of the third quarter, piled on to what was already an increasing double-digit advantage for the Spurs at that point. Ultimately, he gets left into the fourth quarter, and at this point, Spurs fans are saying, okay, yeah, I get what you're doing, Mitch. You're letting him go after for 40. He did. He hit 40, and ultimately he finally checks out with 26 minutes played, 40 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple blocks in those 26 minutes. Fox, 18 and 10. He had 14 points in the third quarter. Keldon Johnson, 17 as well. We'll hit more on the bench in a minute. Win number 62 for the San Antonio. Win number 62. Wow. Just say it for the San Antonio Spurs team, 32 and 7 at home. And Wemby, mission accomplished, right? Mission accomplished. What felt a little bit foreign all the way back in the winter. Not so much. And awesome tonight. Awesome.
Yeah. So, to the first half, first of all, it was good seeing Victor back out there. I know I've dealt with, that area, the ribs, and, you're a little sore. You're waiting, anticipating that first hit. So he took a couple of hits tonight in that area, and it was good to see him shake it off and have a big game. As far as, the basketball game itself, we saw some good basketball in that first half. You saw 2 #1 picks going at it. I haven't, seen Cooper Flagg play like that in a while, and I don't think Dallas has either. But he was hitting everything, mid-range threes, getting to the basket, getting his teammates involved. So they got a guy that's going to be pretty big for them in the future. But on to what San Antonio did. I mean, you just saw the ball movement. You saw, a will to not want to go out there and take Dallas lightly. I know Dallas made a run, but San Antonio stood up with it. Fox got hot there in the third quarter and was able to get that separation. So, for the most part, Casey, you like where they are going into the playoffs. You have one more, game, one more regular season game, and it's up in the air of what they're going to do, who's going to play, whatever. But for right now, as we speak, they look good against the Mavs, and I think that they are going to put the final preparations in on Sunday. But right now, they look good.
Yeah, we're going to hit up more on that in a minute about thinking ahead to Sunday and this Nuggets game, because some decisions made by the Nuggets tonight perhaps really prompting some conversation as to how it'll impact on Sunday. We'll touch on that in a second, because a lot more really good to talk about when it comes to this Spurs team, especially another game where the bench sets the tone.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
Because expectedly, they are going to be relied upon heavy in the playoffs when need be, when they cut down to an 8-man rotation, theoretically, for all intents and purposes. And you saw it. Keldon had 17, Harrison Barnes 15, Carter Bryant with 12 on top of that. So this was another strong performance to build off what we saw the other day. They look good. They look sharp. They look ready. Everything that they need to get going heading into Sunday and, of course, heading into next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Harrison Barnes played, tremendous, shot the ball well. Keldon, we already know what Keldon's going to do. He provided energy. He's going to get in there and get well-needed, timely buckets for San Antonio, so he's able to do that tonight. Carter Bryant continues to play well. The only concern you have is make sure that Luke's wrist is okay, because he got banged on there about 2 or 3 times. But I know him; he's a gamer, so he'll be out there. But yeah, that the way the bench is playing, the way they come in there, and now as we move into the playoffs, you throw Harper back in the mix with those guys. They look good tonight, and I know that they're going to play a huge part in the success that the Spurs have come playoff time.
Yeah, Devin said it there. Dylan Harper got the start tonight for Stephon Castle, who, like I mentioned from the jump, was out and played well with those 13 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, doing everything he needed to do to take care of business. Collectively as a whole, it kind of just – it's encouraging from the standpoint that you just kind of want to see the tools look sharp going into it, right? You're not looking for anything overly groundbreaking. You're just saying, go out, look the part, look fluid, things like that. Want to pick the player's brain here because is it and we've talked about it before and about staying engaged when you're kind of nearing the home stretch here. Is it, as someone who has been in these types of situations, is it hard to kind of stay focused and really get enthusiastic up for the games, knowing that it's about to get a whole lot more important in a week?
No, not at all, because you don't know what your minutes are going to be, especially on a team as competitive as San Antonio, both now and back when I was playing with them. So you can't take anything for granted. Guys like Pop, guys like Mitch, if they see that, then they'll give you 1 or 2 chances in the playoffs to see where you're at, but that might be it. So no, you don't want to take games lightly, and that's why I said I was proud of the way, even though Dallas made that huge push there in that second quarter, and once the third quarter started, the lead extended because they got back focusing on what it is that they're doing, because they're playing for a whole lot more than Dallas is right now. So no, Casey, you don't want to take anything for granted, especially when you don't know what that rotation is going to look like come playoff time. So every minute, every possession matters.
It was probably Victor speaking for the cameras because he's a trained pro. He knows by now. But he was asked after the game, and he was asked, "Are you guys ready for the playoffs?" And he said, "Nope. Got one more game. They're ready for the playoffs. They're ready.
Yeah,
they're ready.
yeah,
they're
yeah,
ready.
Of course.
They're good to go." Wanted to get your thoughts on their management of Victor, especially leaving him in there, letting him go for 40 at the end there. Wanted to get your opinion on that, if you will.
I don't know, man. At the end of the day, like some of the moves that they make, it's like, I don't know what kind of bonuses he has in his contract. All I know is this. I know Victor loves to play the game of basketball. I know that he's been taking a lot the first couple of years he's been here about, you know, his strength and where he's at and how many games, this and that. And I think he factors in all that. And so when he's available and he plays, and you saw it tonight, I was thinking about it tonight. Um, he's gonna play the way he plays, which is give you everything that he has. So, for me, I don't know. I'm old school, Casey. I just know that once he got to 40, I didn't like the 2 or 3 more possessions. I'm fouling right away. Like big fella ain't got. He can't tell me anything. I'm fouling. Whoever has the basketball, I'm fouling. Go sit down, and I don't want to hear it. We'll talk about that later. But they don't do that. They just kept playing and playing. And that's why I felt bad for Lindy Waters and my boy Bismack. Hey, come on now. They sat at the scores table for 4 minutes.
No timeout, no foul,
no nothing.
Nothing. That better be the reassurance that we're gonna get that 30+ minute night from Biz on Sunday.
Yeah, he gets 30 minutes. You're gonna see about 50 left-handed jump hooks.
I'll tell you what though, that going for 40 and leaving him Victor in for a couple more possessions got a little too cute at the end of it. It was all fun and games until you see him Victor go down.
And we've seen that. I've been a part of that, and we've seen that in sports where something happens, but I don't get it. I mean,
it didn't happen. Yeah, it didn't happen today, so we don't have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't worry about it now, but okay.
Oh, if it does.
Yeah.
The tone of this episode, the tone of this pod today is completely different, and the dialogue that surrounds Mitch Johnson, and not only with us, the city of San Antonio would be a heck of a lot more different. But instead, that's not the case because Mitch Johnson stays firmly in contention for the head coach of the year candidacy. Victor is now eligible to win the defensive player of the year award. Like we said, MVP at this point. We can only cross our fingers, but he's the MVP in our books.
That's right.
We'll see. All right. We mentioned that things got a little bit interesting tonight when it comes to the Denver Nuggets decision-making going up against the Oklahoma City Thunder this evening. A very interesting decision against the Thunder team that's resting everyone and how it might impact the Spurs coming up this weekend. So we'll touch on that and maybe a little bit more, time permitting, on the other side of the break right here on the Spurs postcast on Locked On Spurs, following a nice victory for San Antonio, one that sees Victor Wembanyama clinch award eligibility